right. Welcome back, everyone. I hope you had a good break. For me personally, the coffee was amazing. I really love Colombian coffee, so really looking forward for the next days as well. But we're not talking about coffee at the moment. We're talking about carbon accounting, and we have now a session, and we have the privilege to have a sneak preview, as was introduced earlier by Christine, to the IDFC Carbometer. And we have two speakers here, Christina Stewart and Ines de la Combe. Both are working for Carbon 4. They introduced themselves. I saw in one of the slides even themselves. So thank you for joining us for this session. And yeah, we are very keen and looking forward to learn more what you can expect or what IDFC members can expect from you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Can everybody hear me well, and also can you see our shared screen? I believe so now.
Yes,
I can see that the shared screen has
appeared. We can hear you very well, and we can see the screen as well. Perfect.
Okay, well, thank you very much for having us, and thank you very much for still having enough energy to keep on going. As I've just heard, you've had a lot of coffee, so should have enough energy for the next part of all of these trainings. So my name is Christina Stewart. Just before we get into the details of the sneak preview, which I'm sure you're all very excited about, I'd just like to give a few introductions. So I'm a manager at Carbon 4, and I will tell you a little bit about our company in a moment, and have been working on climate issues for the past 10 years about, and am also very much focused on the importance of training concerning climate change, because I've spent most of my professional career helping out organizations work on their climate strategies, and it's become extremely aware and important to us to now make sure that these issues are internalized as much as possible. On a personal note, for those who are wondering where my accent is from, I am from Australia, and I really do personally believe that everybody has a personal connection to the environment and to climate change as much as they do professionally. And on my side is that I grew up in a drought my entire childhood, and so have become extremely sensitive to all aspects around water. So that's enough about me. I'd like to let Ines also present herself before I talk a little bit more about Carbon 4 and then looking at the tool.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Ines de la Combe, Senior Consultant at Carbon 4. I've been a climate consultant and expert for 5 years now, and I'm specialized in platform and methodology for IDFC Carbometer, or tools that are similar for financial institution and infrastructure. I made the choice to dedicate my professional life to climate change, which is a subject that is close to my heart. And I personally think that infrastructure design our economy and our society and embark a significant amount of GHG emissions. And therefore, helping financial institutions make relevant choices for the climate is for me a way to have a positive impact in my job. I let's take back the speech, Christina.
Thanks, Ines. So just a little bit about Carbon 4 before we get into the detail. Perhaps before I even begin to describe this slide, you may be asking, why is the company that we work for even called Carbon 4? So when Carbon 4 was founded quite a long time ago, so you can see about 17 years ago, it was actually regulation in France at the time where the company is founded to divide all greenhouse gas emissions by 4. Now, I'd just like to take this moment to show how the ambition has increased in that country just in the small time frame of carbon 4, because now the regulation and the target for France is not to divide carbon emissions and greenhouse gas emissions by 4, but actually to strive for carbon neutrality, which would mean a division of its emissions by 6 and also increase carbon sinks. So even the name of the company that we work for, I've realized in the short time frame that it's existed, the ambition in terms of climate change has already risen, which is something that is really positive and that we really should remind ourselves about, because climate change is not always a positive environment to be working in. So we founded about 17 years ago, and now we're almost 200 employees working in many different projects in many different countries in many different languages and along different work streams. So we have our most historical work stream, which is the Carbon for Consulting, where we work on climate and biodiversity strategies for all types of organizations in different sectors. Then we have Carbon for Finance, which is a climate and biodiversity data provider for financial institutions. There's also the Carbon for Academy, which is the Climate and Biodiversity Training Center, working on both e-learning courses, also in-house courses, as much as also training pedagogical techniques that we like to share. And then we have MyCO2, which is the personal carbon footprinting tool, which is usually also accompanied by a conference to explain what individuals also have to do in terms of their climate change friendly behavior, but also how individuals are impacted by climate change. And then finally, we have the R&D department, or the IF initiative, because I think it's very important to remain at the frontier of these issues. So, as I was saying, we have these different work streams, and so what's really important to us is, innovation remaining really at that frontier. We really try and keep up to date as much as possible, especially concerning methodologies, as our engineers absolutely adore. So training, really making sure that organizations can internalize as much as possible all of those methodologies, and then having the correct data. So we work on that a lot, and so we have also really specific positions for people in different sectors working on that data to keep it as up to date and exhaustive as possible. So with having those values and those important frameworks and working streams in mind, we work with organizations along two main pillars. So one we call the environmental strategy, and the other one we call business strategy. So really, on one hand, we want to reduce the impact that you have on the environment. So that's really the environmental strategy towards global net zero, for example, when we're looking at climate. And then we have the business strategy towards a more resilient business, which is reducing the impact of environmental risks on your organization, on your activity, on your business. So when we think of carbon footprinting, which is the main reason why we're speaking to you today, we're looking on this first pillar, which is reducing the impact that you may have on the environment. And you can only reduce properly something that you have measured in advance. You can only even realize what your impact of your actions are as long as you measure properly. So the carbon footprint is really the absolute foundation of this pillar of environmental strategy. Without any further ado, I will pass over the mic to Ines to get into the details of the tool.
Thank you, Christina. Today we're going to show you a project that was initiated by the AFD as a member of the IDFC. This project is aimed at all members of the IDFC, and its goal is to provide an automatic carbon footprint tool for infrastructure that is tailored to IDFC members' needs. The name that was chosen is IDFC Carbometer, and it was chosen during the specification phase because, first of all, we needed to adapt an existing tool that was developed previously by Carbon 4 for asset managers to IDFC members who have very specific needs. They are not. They don't have the same expectation than asset managers. So this first phase that was carried out in Q4 of 2023 was interviewing different banks that are here all around the world to understand what will be these needs for the IDFC tool. Then we initiated the implementation of these specifications. That is this platform adaptation phase that we're currently in. There's a need to adapt some methodologies and also some IT to make some IT developments on this web platform. Then, from July to the end of September, you will be able to test this platform. We need 3 members to test it. So please, if you're interested, contact me or Mustafa in order to get a feedback on what are the remaining needs for this tool to be really suit for IDFC members. And then in the end of the year, you'll be able to subscribe to this IDFC Carbometer for your own organization to use it for your projects. So once again, if you're interested, please contact me by email. These specifications that were made during last fall, they concern different aspects of the tool, giving a new name, some new colors, changing the currencies from euros to US dollars, creating a new dashboard that is specific to what was asked by these different banks during the interviews. Also extend the coverage of the tool to the whole world, because we're currently only covering North America, Europe, and Mediterranean Rim. But IDFC members can have projects all around the world, so we want to cover everything. And this requires some IT development that are specified in days here. And next, I would like to show you this tool being developed just for you. And before I do this, I need to introduce some basics of carbon footprinting. Maybe you already have it. Maybe you've heard about it a long time ago, or maybe you don't know it. So I make a quick reminder. For a standard company, not specifically a financial institution, we divide greenhouse gases emissions in 3 categories called scopes. The scopes 1 and scope 2 relate to the energy consumed by the company directly through its car fleet, for instance, or its buildings. In its upstream activities or downstream activities, we find indirect emissions of greenhouse gases that are called the scope 3 and that are very important. They account for approximately 80% of the usual carbon footprint of a company. So we need to assess it seriously. In the upstream scope 3, for instance, we can find the purchases of the company, for instance, the materials that are used to produce the products of the company. We can find in the downstream activities, for instance, the use of the sold products. If a company makes some light bulbs, these light bulbs will be used by consumers and then consume some energy, and we need to count it in the downstream scope 3. We can also see that there are some investments that are counted in the scope 3. And these investments are very important. They constitute a major part of the carbon footprint for financial institutions. This is really what we'll be talking about today. Even though investments are counted in scope 3 of financial institutions, they must include scope 1, 2, and 3 of all their assets. And this is what the IDFC carbon meter tool will be doing. So I switch on to the demo, and here is our IDFC carbon meter as it is currently. So there are more updates coming in the following weeks, but I can already show you how it works. On this tool, you can do 5 actions. You can create your own portfolios, analysis, and assets. You can collect data for all of these assets, launch the calculations, and look at the results. You can look at the results asset by asset or by using a dashboard that is here. I will start with an example just with you right now. I was disconnected just for the demo. Here I am. I create a portfolio. Maybe you have your own terms in your financial institution. These terms will be changed to be tailored for financial institutions that are not asset managers. So let's say I create a test, a portfolio test, and I can have an analysis in this portfolio. You'll see later that there can be different analysis in a same portfolio because with the same assets, I will want to do several tests or several reporting years, and therefore made different calculations. So the first calculation is called a new analysis, so analysis 1, for instance. And the reporting year will be 2023. As we're in 2024, I would like to report for last year. I can choose an SFDR or PCAF compliance. SFDR is a European regulation, and PCAF is a standard that is very important all around the world for carbon footprinting for infrastructure, and it's compliant with the GHG protocol, so the main standard for carbon footprinting. Here I can select different assets that are already existing, or I can create my own new assets. I propose you to make a wind farm, onshore wind, power plants, wind fortress. For instance, here I am currently creating my own assets. I can select the type, onshore wind power plants, where it is located. Well, let's say it's in Spain, and fill some comments or description. I save my assets. I can add some more assets if my portfolio is constituted of different assets. But for now, I will just have one because I want to be quick, and save my portfolio. Here it is in the list of portfolios. I can find it. There's only one analysis, and here it is. So I move on to the second step. Now I can collect the data of this asset. For this, I can download Excel inputs and make and put it back once they are completed on the platform, or I can directly input the data related to my assets in this web page. Data is divided into financial data and physical data. The financial data, here is an overview. I can put the turnover of my assets. I make fake values, it's just a fake asset. So let's say it's a brownfield asset. I invest in debt. The remaining weighted average life of credit will be, let's say, 5 years. My asset entered into the fund into 2020. My commitment will be of 100 million euros. The total project debt 200, and the total project equity 200. I can see that mandatory questions have a red asterisk, so I know that for calculations, these are really needed. This is for the financial data, and for the physical data, it is data that is specific to each asset type. We try to make a few questions so that you don't have too much information to collect. But still, for each asset type, there are specific questions in order to really understand how the asset works and emits greenhouse gases. Here I can input the date of commissioning. Let's say it's already commissioned since it's a greenfield asset. I can say if the greenhouse gases emissions are already known for scope 1 or not. Let's say I do not know them, but I know the scope 2. And it's 10 tons of CO2 equivalent. I know also the liters of fuels that are used for operation and maintenance. Let's say 3,000 liters. Here, I don't know this actually. The electrical output will be 100 megawatt hours during this last year. And the capacity of my plant is 60 megawatts. Here I can directly save and request analysis. Currently, the analysis takes less than a minute, so there will be soon some results here. And then I move on to another page to show you some results that are bigger with the, more assets in order for you to understand how you can compare between the different assets of your portfolio. I just need to wait a little bit that it comes. Maybe actualize, yes. Processing success. And here I will have all my KPIs here. But I propose that I show you another portfolio where we'll see more interesting results. So there's an existing demo, and here it is. I can find back the input data that was previously filled in, physical and financial data, for each of my 4 assets. There's a solar PV power plant, a hospital, a data center, and another hospital. I have some financial insights of how this analysis or this portfolio is constituted with the different assets and asset types. With regards to the investments, then I have a portfolio overview of the results. So for this carbon footprint, here I have the overall greenhouse gases emissions, the same but related to all the money that was invested in the assets, and the same but with the turnover of my assets. Then I have more detailed results by assets. So here I have a bar chart with absolute emissions with the different scopes that are at stake. I can see that scope 3 is really the main scope for all those 3 assets, and maybe solar PV has very low or 0 emissions. Here I have another view with the detail of the scope 3 with some construction, which is 0 here, the operation scope 3, and the use. There's a difference between the operation and maintenance, that is here in green, and the use of the assets, that is here in blue. For instance, the use of the asset for a road will be all the emissions of the cars going through the road. And here, distribution of all the emissions. So I can see actually that solar PV doesn't have 0 emissions, but there is actually a scope 1, a big scope 2, and a scope 3. And eventually, I have a table with all these KPIs, and I can download a KPI file in an Excel format. So this was the step 4, looking at results by asset and for my analysis. Now, I will show you the step 5, that is using the dashboard showing consolidated results. And this is really something that is new and tailored to IDFC specifications. I change to another client here to see another view. And here is my dashboard. I can download all that will be shown below. I can show a reporting year. I can select a reporting year, a compliance. Actually, here it's PCAF, and a status. Do I want to select only assets that are in construction, in operation, or all of them? I can also see all the analysis that are included in this in the view of results that will be below, and select or remove some of the analysis. Same for the detail of all the assets that are considered. Here I can see all the assets, the portfolio or the fund that they are in, and select or remove them. And now I can look at my results. I have an overview of all these projects that were selected. So how many projects are considered? The amount of money that was financed for these assets, the greenhouse gases emissions that are allocated, which means allocated to your financial institution. If you invest in only the 50% of an asset, these are 50% of the greenhouse gases of the whole asset, and this is the total, the 100% of emissions of the assets. And finally, the carbon footprint of all these assets per million euros or $1 million financed. This is the global overview, and now you can have a detail per region. Currently we have only 3 regions, but soon there will be the rest of the world. An overview per country, an overview per sector and per subsector. So all this is currently being developed at Carbon 4. Within a few weeks will be these developments will be over, and it will be available for you to test it. We need 3 IDFC members to be volunteer to test this platform before anybody else. If you are a volunteer for this, please contact me or Mustafa. And by the end of the year, we'll make available subscription for this tool, and you'll be able to use it for your own projects and make the carbon footprints as you want it. We have some time left, and this is for questions if you have some. So please use the chat, or maybe raise your hand in the room so that we can take questions.
Okay, thank you so much. Questions? Do you have a microphone over there? Yes, please. Okay, thank you. We have a first question here in the room.
Can you hear me?
Yes, perfectly.
Well, first, thank you very much for the meaningful presentation. Very interesting, the tool. In one of the points of the presentation, you mentioned that the tool was based on the guidelines of the greenhouse gas protocol, right? So one of the concerns I have related to the use of the greenhouse gas protocol is if the greenhouse gas protocol is already aligned with the latest version of the ISO 14061 standard, released in 2018 or 19, where the approach is significantly different in terms of how to estimate the greenhouse gas emissions, let's say direct and indirect greenhouse gas emissions, and consider indirect greenhouse gas emissions based on the significance of these greenhouse gas emissions, not just considering them depending on the context of the greenhouse gas inventory. So something like that was a little bit concerning for me, related to the use of the greenhouse gas protocol instead of the ISO 14061 guideline. Thank you.
Before you answer, very briefly for all participants, we will introduce you, if you're not familiar with the terminologies, ELG protocol, as you have said, ISO norms, etc. We have a session about that, I think tomorrow morning, where we will be introduced to all these different terminologies so that you're all on the same page. Just wanted to raise this issue. But please, Ines, Christina, the floor is yours.
I hope I understand well the question. The way we calculate greenhouse gases emissions in this tool is that if you select this PCAF compliance, you're asked to provide some data for calculation of scope 1 and scope 2. This is made in order to be PCAF compliant. And for scope 3, the choice is made asset by asset type to take different categories of emissions that will be significant or material for this asset type. So, for instance, for a freight port, the construction is well amortized during the long lifetime of the freight port, so it is not considered.
Christian, does this answer to your question, or do you have another comment? Okay. Okay, we will continue the conversation, he said. There's another question. Next, yes, please. You want to say something, Ines?
No, I was just
good.
saying yes.
Meanwhile, you're thinking about your questions. There's one question actually from the chat, from the participants who are joining us online. Hemen Wuto, he's saying, thank you for the presentation. What does the attribution take into account? Does it consider all liabilities and equity of the company, for example, or just the current funding syndication?
So it will take into account the commitment of the bank in terms of asset management. We call this the book value for debt, and for equity it would be usually fair market value. And we use then the same to divide. We use then the total project debt and total project equity to make this percentage allocation. Yes. I don't know if it answers well the questions, but these values are specified in the PCAF standard, and their terms will be tailored to development banks, so that it is specifically the values, the financial values that you should be looking at.
Okay, thank you. There's another question in the room. I hand over the word to Mustafa.
No, I would just maybe comment. To complement the response from Ines, just to say that I think the question is about if we consider just the investment and the loan that is provided, for example, and it's working like any carbon footprint. So just to look at the investments that the bank is doing and to weight it in terms of carbon intensity, and that's it. So if they are providing some equity, it will be also the same, but just to look at the commitments of the bank and looking at that project from like we do already.
Okay, any other questions? I think yes. Maybe before we have another intervention there, then it's your turn again. Please, Marta.
Thank you.
It's working, yeah.
Okay, it's working, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for the presentation. Could you please elaborate a little bit more how the tool is estimating the emission reductions in the assets? because if I understand well the presentation, the tool is making a consolidation of the emissions reductions of the portfolio, but I don't understand how the tool is making or showing the opportunities to reduce the emission reductions.
So in fact, this tool aims at measuring your emissions, and yet there is no way to input some actions of reduction or see avoided emissions. It's only induced emissions measurement. But let's say you have an asset that you analyze in 2022 and you make a new assessment in 2023. You can still compare those two assets in the tool in order to see how you reduced your induced emissions for this asset. If this is a need that is very important for you, I encourage you to be part of the participants of the tests that will be made from this summer on, in order to say that this is something that you really would like to see.
Thank you. Maybe first Christian and then Komlanvi. Yes, it's working.
Thank you. Yes. The first question I have is related to the updates there was with the latest assessment report by the IPCC. I checked the global warming potentials, for example, of some greenhouse gases, methane and so on, and there was some non-material differences in the figures currently used by methane, for example, 25, let's say. Did you include those differences reported by the latest assessment report, the sixth one?
I think that currently, no, we didn't make this update. There are a significant number of parameters in this tool, and we try to update them continuously. So updates are made days after days with a prioritization, and I think that currently the tool is still compliant with the specifications of the greenhouse gases emissions, the greenhouse gases protocol, and we want to stay compliant with this in order for you to make the best reportings that are really compliant with the regulations and standards.
This is a very critical point, so I would like maybe to elaborate further on that. What we are working with Carbon 4 is that they will produce this tool, but they will continue the maintenance of the tool and provide the updating all the time we need.
Okay.
Thank you, Oscar.
Can I?
Yes, please.
Right.
You have
Okay.
the question over here.
I think. Thank you very much for the presentation. One of the questions I had was, I know you. I mean, it's a preliminary version of the tool. You did say it covers 3 regions, but by the time you will be done, you will cover the entire region. My question is, what are the regions? Because we don't know about them. You just mentioned it, but I'd like to know that. The other question I had was, I would have loved for the GHG protocol session to have perhaps happened before this session, and also to have a highlight on PCAF and how this works particularly, because this is exactly what the tool is using in calculating, the entire emissions. And from our engineering background, I'd like to understand exactly how these calculations are done. I know it's automatically done, on the tool, and obviously it's programmed, but the old methodologies that we used to use was that we had data. For example, if you take exact tool, for example, we had data that we inputted and then we generated an output and then we have the graph and everything. But now this is done automatically because PCAF has perhaps NGG protocol has a much advanced version and all that, but it will be critical for us to understand this. I don't know if perhaps after I know we don't have much time, but after the GG protocol session tomorrow, perhaps if we can have Carbon 4 for another 10-15 minutes just for questions, because I believe questions will be generated, will come up again after that session. I guess the PCAF as well talks, when it comes to solar energy, for example, baselines of countries and everything, these are things that slightly relating to the IPCC update that was mentioned earlier, because these are some of the data that sometimes do changes quickly. And I know part of your, activities as part of the term of references, you'll be updating, the software, really well. So that is good. You did mention in your presentation as well that, especially on infrastructure, road, for example, you said, okay, cars emissions that we're passing, all that will be taken into considerations and all that. And I don't know if PACT, PPCAF, for example, that, has all of that data, and how do you come up with such things? So I just wanted to have a much more clearer understanding of those aspects. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Before I give you the word, Ines and Christina, very briefly only to mention, in France it will be a public holiday. That's why we had to change this session earlier in the framework of the whole training. We please hope for your understanding. As we said, we will deep dive into the topics of carbon accounting, GHG protocol. Even you yourself, tomorrow you will have the opportunity to calculate by yourself, to do some calculations in scope 1 and 2 emissions based on different emission types as well. So there will be opportunity really to deep dive and also to understand what is actually happening in the background, maybe of this tool or any other tool which is out there. So this is an information. Now I hand over to you, Ines Christine, for an answer to the intervention.
Yes. So actually, if you think, if you wish you had more time to discuss with us all these things that will be seen later in the seminar that you have in Bogota, I propose you that you join maybe, for instance, the restitution meeting of the project, so that you can see how it advances and ask some questions. If you're interested, also you can send me some questions by email. And I'll try to understand to give you some answers. And I understand that it's very important for you, if you're interested by the tool, to understand better how it works and try to have a clarification of all your questions. So if you're interested, I can handle your demands and needs by making a short call on all this. Do you have more specific questions?
I think I'll have more questions after you answer the ones I've asked. So maybe we can do this later on due to time. Yeah.
All right, good. And looking in the room, yes,
about the region covers. This is one question about the region covers by the tool, we will cover all the region. In fact, Africa, Asia, and Latin America, all region deemed for interest for the IDFC members. This is part of the also of the updating of the tool.
Yes, in fact, Currently, the tool only has North America, Europe, and the Mediterranean Rim. But as we want everybody in the IDFC to be able to use the tool for its own projects, we're extending this coverage to the whole world.
All right. Looking again around, is there any other question to Ines, Christine? Do we have anything from the chat? Nothing. Okay, good. All right. I think then we thank you very much, both of you, for this sneak preview to the tool. I think there's still a lot of questions which maybe came up. I think you mentioned also that participants can also directly contact you if they have any questions, or via Mustafa and IDFC as well. So I think, but it's a very good way that that there will be a tool which will be available for all members. So again, thank you very much for bringing us on the stage, and yeah, have a lovely evening already in France. Thank you for joining, making the time. I know it's quite late already in there. So thank you so much again, and I think a big applause to both of you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah, I thank you very much. Maybe just a one sentence conclusion. I'd just like to really thank you all for your attention today and for this entire organization working on this topic, because it is so very important, and your questions also show the interest that you have in having a tool that is really up-to-date, precise, used by all, has the most coverage, and all of these specifications and all of these questions that you ask are absolutely relevant. And we're quite lucky to have a team that is regularly in contact with GHG protocol members, which is regularly in contact with the different organizations that update the emission factors. So we definitely are all ears concerning your questions, and work really with that in mind to give and provide tools that are as useful as possible. I mean, we're very impact driven, so that's really the point, to make something that is as helpful for you as possible. So thank you very much for your time and your questions, and we look forward to hearing more questions and more comments as well, like Ines was saying. So don't hesitate to contact us and be part of also the working groups to refine the tool. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much again. All right, I think that was the last intervention, the last session before we have now very much deserved lunch break. The lunch break will take place, we are like 3 minutes walk from here, south through the Botanical Garden, which is actually very nice. There will be our colleague from DING, Ana Maria. It's you, right? No, who is Ana Maria? Where is she? Ana Maria, it's you. Okay, she's standing over there. She will guide you to the lunch venue. But before we have lunch, we will take a group picture. It's just on the way to the venue, to the lunch venue where we have lunch. We will take a group picture. So yeah, there's a sign. Maybe you can show it up. You have the sign, DING sign. So please follow Ana Maria. On the way, we will take the picture, and another announcement will come. Okay, I just have to another announcement. So they are like for the toilets and the washrooms. So they are leaving here on the right hand side. Please use the washrooms here on the right hand side, and they are for us for this venue. This I have to quickly announce. And yes, and I think the room will be locked, or how is it that? Yeah, you can leave your belongings here. So the room will be locked. The colleagues will take care that nothing will happen. So yeah, with that, have a good lunch break, and we see you again here for the next session at 1:30.